Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Talking Horses. Day 21 at Saratoga. The second half of the meet officially starts now. Greg Wolf, Andy Serling. You
Things
excited for
things get
second half?
serious now.
Yes. For some of us, we have a little digging out to do. For some others, perhaps things are sailing along. We hope you're doing well, but the meet's a lot of fun. Obviously, there's a lot of discussion about weather this weekend, but we will persevere, and it's just good to be in Saratoga.
It's always great to be here. And yeah, if you've struggled the first half of the meet, don't worry. It was a little warm up, the tune up. And now hopefully you can learn lessons to have a successful second half of the meet.
Yeah, I remember, I think it was 1994, maybe it was 95. One of the first years I was playing full-time, I just got crushed the whole first 3 weeks, and then I just got it all back in the last week.
Well,
So
it
you
could
never
just
give
take
up.
one day, too, really. If you have
100%.
one good day, you'll be fine.
When Evening Attire beat Funnyside, and we used to run the Saratoga Cup race, I went from being buried for the meet to out for the meet after the last race. I think Topiary won the last race for Barclay Tag. Yes, it can happen overnight.
Yeah.
And obviously, you've had a decent meet so far, right?
Decent. It could have been the best meet of my life.
Yo, you were live in that pick five on Sunday, in the late pick five. And lucky
I was
you-
8 of 10 into a pick 5 on an opening week, but the two horses I did not have ran 1-2.
really
For
crushed the exacta.
22,000.
Crushed the exacta.
It's a few of those have happened.
The good thing Sunday is you never really you had my top two picks, so you knew right away that you were in deep trouble. Anyway, we got lots to talk about. You need to head over to Naira Bets. If you're not a member of Naira Bets, no better time than the present. Use the promo code SPA250. Sorry, we'll match the $250 of your initial deposit. Play through Naira Bets. Bet any track, anywhere, anytime. Check out track stats when you are there as well. Lots of information over there on Naira Bets. 16% superfecta bonus. Opt in for this. If you hit the superfecta in any race, you 16% bonus. You want to opt in over at Naira Bets for this. More information and details there. We have a feeder contest. Now it's $80 buy-in because it's $1,000. That's a good deal, actually, because normally it's a $40 for a $300 contest. So
Yeah.
a bargain. Cash and seat prizes, of course, to Saturday's challenge. You have until tomorrow post time to sign up for that, and then you have until Saturday post time to sign up for the 4-Star Dave Challenge. $1,000 buy-in. There is a Breeders' Cup BCBC seat, the Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge seat online there. Bet it online, play it on track as well. You don't need to be just on Naira Bets for the 4-Star Dave Challenge. And FS2 from 1 to 6:30 today, covering all of the action. And we're on the turf. Turf is good. That's good news as well. Race number 1, though, we're starting with New York bred maidens, and you and I both have the one Blakely's Wish on top, and that is one of the biggest ants I think I've ever. Johnny, I think that ant's bigger than you.
Yeah, the ants here are one attacked me on the set. They're like the
Really?
size
Wrestle
of
you to the ground?
cockroaches.
Yeah, that's a giant ant.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's take a look at the half-brother to Blakely's Wish in a very famous race run here while I was home with COVID. A little bit of an incident here between Frenzy Fire and Yaupon, and Frenzy Fire, the half of this
I'm
horse.
so happy this horse is running because we get to see the savaging again.
I wouldn't have let it get away. You know, I saw this and I said, I know what video because we didn't have any other videos to show for the race.
There
really.
it is, Frenzy on the outside.
There he is. We assume that Blakely's Wish won't do that. Frenzy Fire was a Poseidon's warrior. This is an honest mischief, taking some early money, and there is a pedigree. It's not the only runner on Diamo. Frenzy was pretty good. Another runner was pretty good as well from the dam.
Yeah, and on Diamo Frenzy, yes, he's the first out winner, State Bred Stakes winner. There's a lot to like pedigree here. I believe Honest Mischief, sire, trying to get his first winner.
He is. Okay,
Yeah.
I did not know that. Of course, Honest Mischief is a Juddmonte horse that ran here for Chad Brown a few years ago, and this is his first crop. Let's talk a little bit about the horses coming out of the 17th of July, and that was a day that I thought the rail was very, very strong. We both have the 6 practically summer second.
Yeah, this one, Belmont second time out, as according to a DRF clock report, has shown some life in the morning. So that was part of the reason why I used this horse, and I just think we're going to see better second time out, a horse who did take some money in that debut.
Yeah, I want horses that were wider. Now, Bubby Dearest is a good name. Bubby Dearest was out on the rail, and the rail
the
was the
best
place
trip,
to be.
yeah.
And Trail of Gold was in the 2-path. That Trail of Gold did a little bit of running. I put him third or her third. I'm trying to be a little more optimistic, but I agree. Practically Summer was wide around the track, took some money, and of the horses in there, feels like the one that I kind of want the most. So
Yeah.
I thought I'd use that, the 1 and 6 to start it out. We both have Lady Wisdom there for Bill Morey, but there is a little bit of pedigree there to speak of, though. I
Yeah,
didn't like
Dan
the sales
produced
work.
Cinderella's Cause, who was a 7-time winner. The second Dan was actually a first out winner on dirt I know later
Better
graded
turf
stakes
horse.
place on the grass,
Yeah.
but did win the dirt debut.
Thought this might be an interesting horse, maybe going to the grass at a later point. We'll see what happens. Always take a look at the Bill Morey horses. On the turf for race number 2, these are maidens, and we'll take a look at Passive Management, who I have on top. You have third, going out for Chad Brown. I thought this horse ran pretty well first time out. This race was dominated towards the front end. The winner was sort of stalking, and I thought it was a pretty good field. The horse was maybe, it turns out, a little farther back than really worked out best for it. I mean, the paces were slow. I never know what to make of the paces here because sometimes we see slow-seeming paces and they fall apart. This is one that didn't really fall apart. I preferred Passive Management, but it's not a super strong opinion.
Yeah, and this barn obviously ready to go first time out, but he's incredibly good. Chad Brown, second time out, maiden special weights as well. I decided to go with Legitimize in here. One of my all-time favorites, just a superstar, second dam of this horse, Intercontinental, who was a 13-time winner, Breeders' Cup Filly Mare Turf winner. Look at the debut from this horse. It was a Chad Brown horse that beat him this day. This horse I just thought was really green, kind of unsure of himself early on in here, but I thought showed real fight and gameness. That Klarovich horse down on the inside is going to beat him here through that tight spot. But I thought showed a lot of fight down the stretch.
I agree, and it's funny because Going Concern has come back and lost, but has run similar, slightly higher buyer figures. So it's not as though he's badly underperformed since then. I remember that because they liked Going Concern that day, and was shocked that this horse was such a big price given the pedigree with Intercontinental, the second dam. Now, normally you're not shocked because the horse runs lousy and say they knew. In this case, they didn't know, and that was a very legitimate race for Legitimize. I have nothing against him. I think he's a player in here.
Is there a concern 6 months away?
I think there has to be a bit of a concern. One thing I'll say is Tim Ham has shipped live horses here, and I think with Tim Ham as the trainer, you're just not going to get a lot of money based on connections. So I think maybe you'll get a better price, 3-1 on the line for David's line. And I wonder if maybe you get a slightly better price. They'll probably bet Prospero in here, stretching out for Cherie DeVoe. I don't know. Has this horse really done much running?
Look, I actually initially had this horse on top. I do like this horse a little bit. That debut race, Apollo 10 won that race. 3 for 4 in the turf, a stakes winner. Irish Gent was second, beat a neck in the Atlantic Beach. Feltrinelli came back and won, was third in the stakes race. That was loaded. And then next time out, I actually thought did show a little bit of run in that race. I love the 2 sprints to a stretch out. Cherie DeVoe, obviously, everything she's setting out at the meet right now has been live.
Cherie's numbers with stretch outs in the turf's not that strong for what it's worth. She's 4 for 30 stretching out in the turf, 8 hitting the board, and $1.31 ROI. With maiden, she's 2 for 19.
I will say this, too. You look at the pedigree, the dam did produce a multiple winner on the grass whose wins were at 1.5 miles, 1.75 miles, 1.5 miles. So I think having seen that, more ground might be better for this horse.
It could turn out to be the case. I had the horse 4th. I had Badge of War in there, who you don't like. I know the race was cheaper and the pace finally held together, but I thought Badge of War actually ran pretty well last time.
Not that I don't like this. This is a good race.
This is a tough race.
And this again, the brother to the Kentucky Derby winner.
And isn't
Mandaloon.
This is the horse that sort of couldn't get his act together, and he's finally seeming to get his act together and ran okay last time. Also, Legitimize is supposed to be the controlling speed in this race, which I think can only help his cause in here. And he's probably the one they have to catch up front for better or worse. The John Morrissey handicap coming up in race number 3, and there are no scratches in there. Sheriff Bianco going to run here and not tomorrow. People wondering as well. The Christophe Clement runner that's entered in the Evan Shipman that ran. Drake's Passage. I don't believe he's going to run tomorrow either. Don't quote me on that, but we don't expect him to come back on short rest.
So, yeah.
I didn't handicap the race expecting him to run. What? That ant, I told you, that's that ant is back. Don't kill ants. They'll come back. This is like a Buddhist thing. Don't kill ants.
It's a reincarnated relative from days ago.
Probably got a better opinion than I do.
All right, what'd you think here?
I like Sheriff Bianco. What are we doing for videos? Let's look at Rotney and Sheriff Bianco. You have Rotney on top. Rotney is very tough to beat against New York breds, isn't he?
He's 8 for 9 lifetime against New York breds. The only time he lost, he was a runner-up, and that was the first ever race he ran in his career.
So he's won 8 straight.
6 stakes wins included in those 8 in a row.
Pretty impressive, but don't you feel a little bit with the presence of Looms Boldly outside of him and Factually Correct inside of him that the pace scenario isn't going to suit him? Or are you comfortable with the idea of him rating in here?
I think he can sit just off. I'm okay with that.
He rated when he won well back last year in May, so he has done it before.
I'm scared of Looms Boldly, though. I'm very scared of that horse.
Really? I'm not.
Okay.
I thought he took advantage of the racetrack last time. Now, in fairness, Subrogate came back and ran well. Bilal didn't run well the next time. He ran a good race, though, on Saturday or Sunday when he got the 90 buyer. I
Yeah.
think Sunday, he finished second.
Yeah, I mean, look, Subrogate that's the race he ran on 99 buyer, right? And then he ran a 106 buyer coming
Yes.
back, and then didn't show
Then
up in
he
the
stunk
Vanderbilt.
in the
But it was
Vanderbilt.
grade 1 company, fine. Yes, speed and inside was very, very advantageous. June 8th. We'll see. That's why I wound up going with Rodney. He's the proven commodity. He's done it against better company. Looms Boldly's got to prove it to me.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I don't. I feel like Lewis Boldly, if his last race is accurate, he's a player here. But if it's not, and when I say accurate, accurate for him,
Yeah.
as a horse, it's a fast race he comes out of. If it's not, then he's just not good enough. And I guess we're taking a look at Lewis Boldly's last time out. Want to let people know, by the way, accelerated post times today with the last race going off a little bit before, I think before 6 o'clock. So we are accelerating post time.
Almost 20 minutes.
Yeah,
Okay.
because they're expecting some
Okay.
possible showers leading into the rain late in the day. So we want to try to speed things up a little bit. So we'll take a look for those. They'll be announced, and if I get what they exactly are, I'll let you know. Yeah, I kind of want to see it again to believe it. I like Sheriff Bianco in here. I feel like he's a horse that he'll benefit from getting Jose Ortiz back up, and he's had some trips in his races. Obviously, too, back in the commentator, it was amazing that Jose was kind of stayed on the horse after
Yeah.
what happened to start. That was a disaster. So he had no chance. I thought his second to Rodney was solid, and it just feels to me in a firm success, he's going to get more pace to run at than he got that day. And then last time out, he just frankly got kind of lost in that race, and I didn't feel he had his best chance to win the race. And
that race to Rodney, too. I mean, that was his first start of the year off the bench. That was pretty impressive.
what worries me is he's won for his last 17 and he's not winning races. That bothers me and almost led me to put this horse, Ocean's Reserve, on top. And we'll take a look at Ocean's Reserve 2 back, the last fast track race for him. And we're not expecting any kind of substantial rain that'll change the track. Maybe we get some showers late in the day. This is a race that I think puts him in the hunt. And switch to George Weaver now. I thought he was very dangerous, especially if the pace gets hot. This is a horse that is always hinted at having some real ability.
He's been first or second in 12 of his 20 starts. He definitely has some races. Is he going to be able to fire his best shot now, having not raced since January 28th against this group? Because there's some real players in
No,
here.
I agree. It's a tough ask for him. But George is running him, so he must think he's doing well enough to take a shot. Obviously, he doesn't really have conditions to run these other races, so he's trying to get him into a race that he fits in, and maybe he does need a race. But it's going to be a square price in here. I'm going to use him. I'm going to try to get a little creative and use 1-2 in the Morrissey. Race number 4 at 6 furlongs. I am not getting creative in race number 4. You have reversed them. I put Friday Surprise on top. We'll look at his last race. I don't know. I mean, I know it's a 7-pound bug rider, and it was 4.5 at Parks, but I had to tell you something. This horse really ran. Now, it seems like the rail was probably okay. I watched about 8 races from this card to see, and I did see horses run okay down the inside. This guy was really running at the end. It was a super fast race, and I almost wonder if Uriah St. Louis, Martinez riding, a horse that probably should be 2-5 might end up being even money. Don't you think
Do you
this
think
horse
he could be 2-5 in here?
Well, if he runs his last race, you don't think he lays over the field unless there's something going on?
It'd take a lot for me to think of any 2-year-old with one start at
Okay, that's
Parks
fine.
should be. Look, it was a 2-5 favorite he was chasing that day, who actually, had run a pretty good race at Laurel in his debut.
And
so
he
it was a
ran-
horse with experience,
Yep.
that he was running into and making up ground on. He is New York bred here against Open Company. There's some other horses that are lightly raced too that I think maybe could step up. I'm not ready to anoint anyone off.
Oh,
one
I'm not
start.
anointing him anything, and I do agree with the one is a little bit dangerous in here, but he really needs to improve, doesn't he?
He does.
Or hope the 4 doesn't show up, which is also always possible.
He does. Dallas Stewart's horses, he's had some really good runners, some youngsters at this meet so far. This horse, according to the DRF Clock report, B+ work.
Oh, okay.
Off that, we've seen so much success too, especially with these younger horses with a start under their belt from Churchill coming here. having success.
I flirt with putting him on top too for the same reasons, not to know about the work, but thinking that maybe that Ford regress a little bit and Dallas would
but
get
you're
him
right.
going.
I mean, he's the horse to beat.
Yeah, I'm not. I didn't. Like you, I have stormed the streets third, but frankly, I have him a very distant third. I'm only ones and fours going to be on my tickets.
Yeah. When's the last time Uriah St. Louis had a heavy a favorite as this on this circuit?
Never, probably. I'm going to guess never. I wonder how many favorites think Uriah has started.
Well, when he wins, he usually wins grade ones at 50 or 60 to 1, doesn't he?
Yeah, yes. And I don't think this is either a grade one or this was going to be 50 or 60 to 1. He won the Gold Cup, right? With Manny at Belmont.
Yeah, he's had some huge wins.
Just got up at the wire
numbers,
to win at
yeah.
a crazy price a few years ago. Race number 5 finally gets to be run because Aspen Grove and Be Your Best especially have been trying to get into a race for a long, long time. So we're happy to see them. And I'm not playing against Aspen Grove. We'll take a look at her running third in the Modesty, where I felt she ran very well. This was a day where you really wanted to save ground. Now, she did save ground in the stretch, so I think she got a good trip and had to angle out in the stretch. I'm sorry. I just think she's better than these horses.
I look back at her when we're looking at the Modesty here, and she winds up third beat of length. I thought her New York was actually pretty good. She wasn't even beat all that much in that grade one company. And this is the first time since she's been in the States she is not going to be in graded stakes company. I mean, she has just been facing incredibly tougher than anyone else in this field.
Yeah, I would love to see Be Your Best do well. And we both got her second. We'll take a look at her in the American Oaks running second. But I'm not convinced that more distance is her friend. What she has in Aspen Grove is she has more speed. She'll be more forwardly placed, probably sitting outside of Dreaming of Mo. I imagine it'll be the speed here with Flavian. But I just don't trust her beating being better than Aspen Grove, and B, being better at a mile and 3/8.
Yeah, I'm with you. But if you are going to take a shot, I guess that's the one to do it with. I have a real hard time seeing anyone else, unless Aspen Grove just doesn't show up, which I don't see happening.
I agree with you. I thought Sabalenka's a little bit interesting because she could be better with some distance. She ran well Kentucky Downs last year, went second to Freitas the Red, who I think is a good distance turf horse, even though she rarely seems to run at it. Don't get mad, Kenny. Run her long. And I thought she was a little interesting, but everybody else to me, it's 1, 6. It's like that much between 1 and 6 and that much between the
Any
others.
concern? Because we don't know about her. And she's so much the horse to beat, but we don't know about her at mile 3/8, really.
No, but she wanted a mile and a quarter in the Belmont Oaks, so she's done that. I mean, I don't really see why this is supposed to be a big problem, but obviously you don't really know. And she's the one to beat. That's the first 5, the early pick 5, back with a late pick 5 after a quick break.
For almost 150 years, the Saratoga name has been synonymous with the finest quality, sustainably sourced spring water available anywhere. Saratoga carries on the rich tradition of its forefathers by crafting each stunning blue glass bottle with the same attention to detail and care that has been its hallmark for generations. Visit SaratogaSpringwater.com today or ask for us by name at your local market or restaurant. Saratoga Spring Water. Make every day exquisite.
We're back, Greg and Andy. Race number 6. I believe we agree in race number 6 on the number 8 horse, and one more time. Go ahead.
Yeah, a lot of pedigree here. So the Dam produced a first out winner on synthetic, produced a stakes winner on the turf in Churchtown, produced a stakes winner on the turf in Honor Delady, who was a multiple graded stakes winner on dirt as well, produced a grade 1 place runner on the turf, Simply in Front. The second Dam was a first out winner on grass, was a stakes winner on turf.
There's
That's
an
enough for
abundance
me.
of turf pedigree for a horse that took a lot of money first time out and didn't run. Mark Hasse, you could say he hasn't done a lot since the beginning. He hasn't run that many horses since the first week and a half or two.
I want to say 28%? I haven't
Well,
written
he
down
won
somewhere.
like 6 races almost immediately.
Yeah.
Maybe even the first week or so, first 6 days. So he just hasn't run that many
He's still
horses
second
since
highest
then.
win percentage at the meet.
Well, I mean, his horses have been running, and I agree. This horse has plenty of pedigree. And I'm not going to say it's a field that's devoid of pedigree. My worry with Mean Eileen, the horse you have second, this horse worked 10 3/5. I was not particularly impressed with this horse's work. Is there a story with this horse?
I just like the fact the second Dam, Rutharienne, who was a millionaire, multiple
Christophe
graded
Clement
stakes
horse,
winner,
11
indeed.
for 24 lifetime, I think.
Yeah, 11-time winner on the grass, and actually won her first 2 starts routing on the grass.
I wish that the dam herself had been a little bit of a producer. That's
Agreed.
the problem. Rutheria
Agreed.
was a very good horse, which I'm sure Virginia Craft Payson owned that horse. It was a very good horse that Christophe trained. I have the 3 Pop Idol, a horse that goes synthetic to turf. Just seemed like a logical horse that ran fine first time out. I kind of spaced and didn't send in the replay for that horse. Also, the 4, I thought the workout was okay, 10 and a 5th. And the 4, Soul Secret, is a half to 3 turf winners out of 7 to try it. So I'd have that horse for John Terranova as well.
And I'll say the other Cassie runner, too, the 7 in here. The Dam won the Edgewood on the grass. Produced pretty good one on the dirt, Coppertown, who for a
Yeah.
while looked like he was going to be a star in the Classic division. He had 3 race run where he was pretty good.
Oh,
but
he
then-
was fast for Todd. And he
Yeah.
was on got a long layoff. I feel like he was out for a while, and he came back after a long, long layoff.
Yeah, and even the second Dam was talented. Was a grade 2 winner
dirt.
on dirt.
I thought it was a little more of a dirty pedigree, and that Dam has not been a good producer on turf. That was my problem. And am I really supposed to think Promises Fulfilled? A Shackelford is going to be a good turf producer? Maybe he will. It's a nice horse for Dale Romans. The 1 rematch for Shug. This horse has a little bit of pedigree. I mean, the factors are always good on turf, it seems.
Yeah, Dam produced a stakes winner who was Group 1 placed in Closing Bell. Produced another stakes place runner, Dat Echo, and San Felipe winner, actually, Hear the Ghost.
She had 2 turf winners out of 7 to try,
Dirt,
but
obviously.
3 of them were pretty good. All right, race number 6 kicks off the late pick 5, late pick 4, and race number 7. I struggled with race number 7. I just didn't have a good handle on it. I guess the one thing I had, and you and I kind of agree, I'm thinking he's going to be the favorite. We'll look at his last race. I mean, listen, she's always Rosie came back and almost duplicated the figure. She ran well in here. I just don't really trust her.
Yeah, look, start number 3, and she runs a figure that I think it's actually probably the quickest or tied for the quickest in this spot. But it was back to sprinting, too.
And you know, I don't think it's a negative drop down. Jordan Wyckoff, the owner, is trying to win races, and he realizes she's probably not winning a maiden special. This race came along. If somebody wants to claim her for 75 and she should win, she's got to get the mile. That worried me a little. I picked her second. I'm not overly against her. Just didn't want her at a short price. The horse I really ultimately didn't want was the one you have second, Bourbon Serengeti. Why are we supposed to just assume she's going to run better? She was awful last time. Right? I mean, she was awful. Maybe she runs better. Her first race was certainly good enough.
Yeah.
She did no running in that race. And I just don't know why I'm just supposed to assume she's going to run a better race.
I just like the fact that she has the 2 sprints. She's going to get a little more ground today. I like the 2 sprint stretch out, and she did show life, according to the DRF Clocker report in that most recent drill. So I think one that, give her a chance going a little bit longer. It might be a different story.
Okay. I mean, I don't have a strong opinion. I'm more against the 6 than anything. Talk about your top pick, the 5 Carrara.
Yeah, I like the fact that Kenny McPeak quite often with his horses, he's admitted this. He likes to kind of work them into race shape a little bit. And this one I think is coming around. She's run some very good races. She actually ran a couple of races early on as a 2-year-old that, against this group were the fastest of anyone. And now she just matched that figure last time out, coming back second off the bench. Today's going to be third off the layoff. And she's had back-to-back works now that have been very solid and are in the B to B plus range.
Yeah, no, I think she's very logical in here. You make good points with her. I would definitely use her. I would use 1, 2, and 5 here. And, Linda Rice has 2 in here. Now, one of them's the Taco Lady. And I know Taco Lady's not going to be a short price in here. But I want to show her race because she kind of ran well and not well. This was a race where inside speed, a day when inside speed is very good. While she drifted in the stretch, she was down inside. And she absolutely got sort of buried on the front end by a George Weaver first-time star that ran a billionth in here and lost to a heavy favorite from Surety Date. The problem I have is that was a good rail, a good track, and I think it sort of worked in her favor. And I just feel like this is a tougher spot. And I prefer the other Linda Rice horse. I thought it was interesting that Linda went in and claimed this horse for $50,000 and then comes back on the dirt with her. And I feel like Street View can be forward in this race. She's not going to be in front. I'm going to give her a chance to improve off the claim for Linda, who has pretty good numbers claiming maidens.
I'm with you. I preferred that one, too. And she's got the inside post, and she showed tactical speed last start, too, sprinting. So going longer, she's going to be forward.
Yeah. See what happens. I didn't have a strong opinion here. I was more against the 6, to be honest, and didn't totally trust the 2.
Okay.
So maybe 1 5s with a little 2 is where I'll go. see what happens. Race number 8. I don't know about you, but I thought race number 8 was as tough a race. This race and the 11th race on Saturday were like the only races when I came to work yesterday that I hadn't made picks yet for. I mean, this race is just so difficult.
It's incredibly tough. I will say it's changed a bit with the 6 coming out.
Well, that's
hasn't
the
it?
thing, because with the 6 coming out, this horse, Lark's Mischief, going out for the White Hot Flying P stable that's tied with Klarovich going into today.
7 wins,
With 7
yeah.
winners, and they're 7 wins with 8 starts, I think. Well, they had a DQ. I'm sort of kidding on that. And this horse is supposed to be the speed here, and I know it's IRAD and it's the speed, but at the end of the day, I couldn't make a strong case for somebody else, and I ended up putting this horse on top. But maybe I'm copping out in a tough race.
I did not like this horse when Rhythm Nick was in here. With this horse coming out, though, I mean, you have to take a longer look now at this horse.
Why
'cause
did you not really like him? You just felt that the 6 would run him off his feet?
I thought the 6 was going to be in front.
I did too. I thought he'd sit second. I wasn't that worried about him trying to race.
But no, I mean, the horse is a major player now. Anything I'm going to play, I'm going to absolutely put the 5 in there and have to use. I just ultimately, I really like that Radical Right has been facing. That's very tough company. I mean, Happy's a choice. That was a horse who was third to Skelly in the Grade 3 Count Fleet, a race before that. Scotland Yard came back and won with won with a 98 buyer, beat a Creative and Castle Chaos here at the Surveillance, who was third in there, was fourth in the Whitmore. And came back, I know, and won on grass, but a multiple stakes winner. This horse has just been facing really good company.
No,
and
I
brings
agree with you
sharp form into the race.
Totally agree. Just so people know where we are with post times, while we start at 1:10, the last race post time is 5:49. I'm sure it'll be tweeted out by Naira, but we are moving up post times. Like, for instance, this race, just trying to keep people updated. This race was originally scheduled for 5:10. It's now 4:47. So we're moving things up overall about a half an hour to try to get ahead of any rain. We'll see what happens. Keep people informed on that. Race number 6 to start the late pick 5 goes off at 3:45, maybe a couple minutes later, but in that vein. I agree with you on Radical Right. I obviously had no argument against that horse. You know, I wanted to put Lost in Rome higher because I bet him last time.
I did too.
I don't love the race he comes out of, but he's not bad. He's certainly not impossible in here.
Well, I'm second. I like him a lot in this spot. Yeah, ultimately I wound up going with Radical Right just because of the class in here. But, you know, as we said, back to that scratch. The 5 becomes even more interesting now. But I do like, certainly that last race, that was a legitimate bump, I thought, too. In a pretty tough Gunner's a good horse.
No, I agree. And he had run well against the track 2 races back. He was wide on a day he wanted to be on the rail. I thought Pipes and Drums was a little bit interesting, cutting back to 6 furlongs for Al Stall. And Al's a sharp trainer who comes here. And you know, this is an interesting horse to bring to Saratoga because, honestly, you look at his numbers and he looks a little bit slow. So why would Al even almost bother bringing this horse here? And Al is a sharp guy. He's got some figures on the go back that give him a chance. Now, those are Evangeline and Delta figures, so I'm not sure how reliable they are. But looking at the fields he ran in, I think he's a dangerous horse in here, cutting back to 6 furlongs. I thought he was an interesting long shot to throw in.
To me, this is a really tough race. I'm not in love with Radical Right. I wound up picking that horse. I think you can make a case for a lot of runners in here. I thought Didinger,
I agree.
Who was, I added in as a 4th after there was a scratch. But this is a horse, every other start, the last 4 or 5 starts, he's got the fastest numbers of anybody in here, or right around there. And we know how dangerous Butch Reed is anytime he brings horses to New York.
I agree. I don't think that horse is impossible either. I don't think Dangerous Ride's impossible. You can't put them all on the list, but, Nelson Avenue's not completely impossible in here.
Monster work, too.
This is a very competitive $40,000 claiming race. Race number 9 is really funny looking at race number 9 because these horses are all interconnected, right? Fancy Pants Juliana had lost to Strictly Taboo. She had lost to Latest Edition. She had lost to Weekend Rags. All of these horses are, coming out of relatively recently breaking their conditions and moving into non-winners at 2. And the horse that you have on top in here, Patria, we'll take a look at her at race at Colonial. One thing you can say about her is she's won 4 races and she's run in some lower-level claiming races, but she's consistently run well enough at times, and she's not sort of trying to get through another condition in the same way.
People might say, oh, look, yeah, this was at Colonial. She just wins by a neck. The filly she beat, Saul Hope, in here, it's actually stakes place to Gulfstream.
She was 1-5.
And is 5 for 10 on the grass. So she's beating good runners.
She was running buyer figures 10 points higher in her prior starts. at Gulfstream, where they race on dirt.
She was only beat a neck at Saratoga on the grass in her turf debut back in 22 at 41-1 in a state bred A other than. She's been close with Dairy Nane, who at the time was a pretty good runner for Christophe.
Very good runner, very good. It's amazing that Dairy Nane's in her PPs, actually. Dairy Nane, I think I bet Dairy Nane the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint, maybe, and I think she had a bit of a trip that day. I left her out, but I do understand the argument for her. I went to Ms. Big Bucks in here. We'll take a look at her race, her last turf race. I just think these were better horses. This race ultimately was coming apart at the late stages in here, and she was forwardly placed. This was coming off a layoff for Michelle Nevin. I thought she ran well enough to win here, and then she got caught in a dirt race, and she's not a dirt horse, and Michelle left her in. And at least with her, she's not sort of a new face to the non-winners of 2. She won the non-winners of 1 when she won her 3rd start in the New York Stallion Series. So I felt like this effort was good enough for her to win here. I like her outside post with Kendrick, that she can do some stalking in here. She's not that slow, so she should be forward, but she doesn't get pushed under the gun. You're obviously not a big fan.
No, look, I absolutely think, I thought this was, we've talked about a couple of races that are very tough on this card. To me, this is one of the absolute toughest. There's so many you can make a case for. I absolutely think she can win this race, especially that fact the race you're talking about, she just came back and matched the best turf figure of her career, 3rd off the bench today. I can easily see her winning. There are a few others that I was more attracted to. Not to say that one can't win. It's
like
a tough
Marco
race.
T, you have second, and I'm certainly not wildly against Marco T. I always felt she had some ability, but once again, she got a good setup in here. This was a race that really fell apart, and you've got all these horses, right? Weekend Rags, who 2 back. Your last turf race won the condition. Latest Edition won the turf race this division. Last time out, Strictly Taboo won 2 races in a row. Can she run through conditions 3 times in a row? Strictly Taboo was bet last time like she couldn't lose, and she got the job done. And it's funny, one of her owners, Steve Dunker's a good friend of mine, and Steve was joking how he's said to me, you were saying how, why is she getting bet like this last time? He said, I totally agree with you. I couldn't figure out why she was getting bet so heavily.
The
But
race
she ran
before
to
that
the money.
was very slow.
Yeah, she ran to the money, and maybe she's just a horse for Christophe that's coming into her own and getting better. But do you really want to take 5-2 like the morning line in this wide open a race?
And I got to say, I'm a really big fan of Fancy Pants Juliana. She's put together now back-to-back starts where she's matched up the same figure that is on par with anyone to win this race again. She's going to be so far back. She's going to have to come wide again.
She made a big wide brush last time. She did. The one thing I had, and I bet her last time, so this is not complaining, she only won that race because Linnerite doesn't want to pass. If Linnerite wanted to pass, she would have gone by her. So I don't know, but she's certainly not impossible, and it's a rare IRAD horse that won't be a super short price. Race number 10, we closed the action out. I think 547 we said was the last post, somewhere in that range. This was not an easy race as well. I wanted to start with Sweet Duchess, number 4, who you have 3rd. I have nowhere, but she is coming off a win. I feel as though this race was completely dropped in her lap. First of all, the only horse in the race besides her that made much sense was the 3rd place finisher. And Florent Giroux, I think he was, I don't know, he went to Yaddo or something at the half-mile pole because he thought maybe they were going around twice on that day. He was just so, look at her rallying to 3rd. She was just so far back. Never had a fair chance to win it. And I felt like last time was the time for her. And she's come off a win, and I thought she'd take some money off the win. I don't know what price David made her, though.
She's 7-2 morning line, and she had a very good trip that day.
Yeah. David has her favored.
She might be your favorite. Yeah, there was a couple others I'd like to. I see we both have Sizzle second. I thought long and hard of putting Sizzle on top in this spot.
I just thought I thought she might be favored. David obviously doesn't agree, and he's usually right.
6-1 morning
because
line.
She's lightly raced, and her last race was pretty good. I thought it was a bit of a clunk up, to be honest. Watching the race, I thought it was less good than it looks on paper. She saved ground, and she never really made a menacing move in there. Not that she can't win, but she never really ran enough that she was a threat.
The winner of that race is a stakes winner at Gulfstream, 2 starts later. She's 2 for 2 on the grass. I actually liked that. I thought she showed a really good turn of foot late. She was wide a little bit in that race, and she was making up ground on that winner who became a stakes winner. And she's lightly raced and has a lot more upside than a lot of runners.
I like the lightly raced. I agree. And listen, I think at 6-1, she's a great play. We'll take a look at your horse, Ninja Barrios, last race down at Laurel, and you're a little more optimistic than me about her. I wasn't sure that she classed up with these horses.
I like her quite a bit. the poor thing just keeps getting thrown outside to these far outside posts. I mean, 2 starts back, she was in post 12, post 8 last time. She's outside again today, but last time out, she rolled on by the winner on the gallop out. And early on in the race, she just looked a little rank early to me. And I don't know what the jockey was doing in the stretch. It looked like he was struggling with her a little bit. Something was going on. The race before that was pushed out a little bit on that first turn.
Agreed.
I think that really compromised her chances. And she's put back-to-back efforts together that thoroughgraph-wise are faster or as fast as anyone in this race. She's relatively new on the grass, too. I mean, that was the first time those last 2 starts she's gone routing on the grass, and both those efforts were very good.
All right, you've sold me to use her.
Okay.
You've sold me on her a little bit more. I agree. And there's a lot of horses I just don't really like in this race, to be honest, which is, busy morning. I didn't show it, but I think the trip was a little bit unluckier than it looks. You look at it, and this horse was rated too wide. There was a big speed in the race, and I thought there's an argument that this horse never really had a fair chance to run the stretch last time and was kind of hemmed in between horses. I'm not a huge fan of her, but you look at her race 3 back, it's good enough to win here,
Yep.
I thought. And I thought last race was a tougher field than this, and she just never really had a fair chance to get through. So the more I watched that race, the more I thought she might be interesting going forward as an improved horse, a horse who had back form and might finally be getting back to it. So I put her on top.
It's a tough race to close it out.
I have a goofy long shot that you have 4th. Dream Central. I know Lane Leslie has struggled on the turf,
Yeah.
to be fair. There's going to be a big price. And this horse's race, 2 back, last time went long on the turf. This horse occasionally has run races that make her a player in here, and she's going to be a gigantic price.
I like that race. We both have her in the mix. That race 2 back. I mean, Master of the Tunes is a veteran that's been on the circuit
Yep.
for a while.
And that race was
Is it
totally
Lee Joseph?
dominated in the front end for Joseph Lee, yeah.
Joseph Lee,
By that
excuse me.
nice-looking 2-year-old that won the other day. with a
Wide
big
trip that
pedigree.
entire way around. This horse, and it's not just that one effort in isolation. I mean, this horse was in stakes company, stakes winner in the past against New
Yeah,
York breds.
This horse is a big price, and I know it's a rider that struggled, but to be fair, it's going to be a very big price, and you can accept a lot when the price is right. Greg, thanks as always. You will be hosting early today?
Yes.
All right, Greg will be on early. I'll be on late. Head on over to Naira Bets. If you're not a member of Naira Bets, no better time than the present. Use the promo code SPA250, and we'll match them $250 of your initial deposit. My friend Steve has told me something, a piece of information. Legitimized was sold at auction after his debut for $140,000 and purchased by Timothy Ham, the horse in the second race you picked. My friend Steve was pointing out. I didn't even notice that. Now, he was the original trainer, so that is pretty interesting.
Okay.
That's going back to the second race. Track stats, by the way, you want to check them out at Naira Bets as well. And 16% superfecta bonus. Opt in over at Naira Bets for that. We've got an $80 feeder contest into the $1,000 Saturday. That's tomorrow. You'll have till post time tomorrow to play that. So head on over and check that one out. We have the $1,000 buy-in on Saturday. If you don't win the feeder contest, get into there. It's a BCBC seat as well. And this one you can play on track as well as online. Normally they're just online. And what else do we have? FS2, excuse me, from 1 to 6 o'clock. I think 6 now.
I'll be on with Rajiv and Jonathan early.
Jonathan has just released. Wow. Jonathan's bankroll is either going to explode today or it's going to go low.
Okay.
All right.
Nice teaser.
Big teaser. Don't miss it on the show. Frank Miramati's up next. Reprice, scratches, and changes. Have a great day in Saratoga.
For almost 150 years, the Saratoga name has been synonymous with the finest quality, sustainably sourced spring water available anywhere. Saratoga carries on the rich tradition of its forefathers by crafting each stunning blue glass bottle with the same attention to detail and care that has been its hallmark for generations. Visit SaratogaSpringwater.com today or ask for us by name at your local market or restaurant. Saratoga Spring Water. Make every day exquisite.